Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started the Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. Afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and to share their experience and knowledge with you. I hope you enjoy it. Be well. Right
Great.
on. Alma, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Glad to hear. Podcast is going to be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living.
All right. Well, I'm a psychology student, doing my seventh semester out of 10. So I'll be done in like a year and a half, which is exciting. Yeah, and it's in Denmark in northern Jutland.
Right on. One of those, you said seven semesters, so you're basically at the end.
Yep,
Uh,
exactly.
one of those things that you're doing is you simply can't just do it without actually liking what you're doing. It's not like IT or finance or business administration or accounting. There tons of people and tons of examples that don't really like their jobs, but at the end of the month when you see this paycheck, you're like, yeah, okay, fine. But
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that without actually you like I don't think it's possible to do it if you don't really have it in your heart.
Yeah, well, it's the case for me at least. I love what I do, and it was a lot different than I expected when I started, but only for the better. And I love studying. Of course it's hard at times. It'll always be hard, but it's it feels really right, and like it's the thing I was meant to do. Yeah.
Right on. You kind of like highlighted the second question. How'd you get there? You mentioned it feels like it's the way it's just the way you were made. And I had a few people here on the program, and I really love giving that example because when you know what something is for you deep down inside you, and when you start doing it, it's like putting a pair of old gloves. You know that feeling that then they fit perfectly. I assume that's the case with you.
Really, it's exactly the case. I mean, I didn't for a long time I didn't know that that was what I was supposed to do, because I didn't really know it was an option. There's a lot of options, and you're only really introduced to like the common ones, like being a lawyer or like being a doctor. And so I didn't really know in the beginning. I just knew that I loved talking to people and helping out, and having interesting like existential discussions. But when I found out, it was just right.
How did you found out about that? Were you like influenced or something? Were you just reading something that kind of led you to that way? Was it a family member that aimed you in that direction? What exactly happened?
Well, I actually remember the moment pretty well because I've
Nice.
always like been told that I was good at conversation and stuff. But one of my best friends, she actually mentioned we're a lot alike, and she mentioned that she like, oh, I've been thinking about maybe psychology. That might be something that was fun to do, and it kind of like clicked for me that, oh, that's what I should do. I was about maybe like 19 years old or something. And then I went home and read up on it, and it made a lot of sense. And they had one of those like get to know the education like days at the university, and I went and thought it was really interesting.
That's pretty good. And what I love about this story is that you were pretty young when you figured it out. Uh,
Yeah.
I had no idea before I started this. I knew I had some idea, but I didn't really realize how many people realize what they're good at and what they should be doing way later in life. And this is basically one of the main reasons, of course, I started this channel because it's good when you know yourself from a young age. And because even if you make a mistake, right, and we all make mistakes, right? We
We all
all
do.
but if you make it on a young age, it kind of prepares you better. I had a discussion here or somewhere else, I don't even remember anymore. When we have a problem, we have it at our own level, right? Because if the problem is like above our level, we wouldn't even consider it a problem because we wouldn't know about it. And if
Yeah,
it's way
exactly.
below our level, we wouldn't even consider it a problem again because it's just something we've been done. But when you're a very young person and when you face it, and even if you fail, that's a good lesson at a young age, and I'm very happy to hear that you didn't really had to struggle left and right with this.
No, for sure. I mean, I was in high school. I took the classes that I thought were the most interesting because I think that's a good way to approach life. You know, do what you find interesting, and then, you know, just like I love psychology, it'll be more fun and it'll be better if you like what you're doing. But at that time in high school, I was actually studying, you know, like physics and chemistry and like math on a pretty high level, because at the time that was what I thought was interesting. And then I found out, well, that's not what I want to do with my life, but it was a good lesson in just doing what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And a high school, the high school period it's perfect to figure it out for you because you're basically a teenager, but you're not exactly a kid no more, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, you're kind of in the upper section, so it's definitely a place to figure yourself out. I couldn't really agree more. Absolutely, 100%. And the third question: how did you knew that this was the path for you? How did you knew this was the way to go? And you kind of like already answered it from the first from the second question with you and your friend when you figured yourself out. But was there
Yeah.
like more to it? And were there actually challenges when you started? You said that it's a little bit different from what you imagined it, for the better, of course. But was the biggest challenge, and what actually, because you already knew, so I guess the question should be a little bit different. What confirmed it for you? You already had this in you, you already knew about it, but what confirmed it?
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of thought it was very fascinating how you can talk to someone and like make someone feel better just through a conversation. I thought that was pretty exceptional, and I wanted to be able to do that and be a part of that. I've always loved helping out my friends with like when there's problems there, but doing it on like a professional plan with people who are facing like actual real difficulties, I think is amazing. And especially now, it's very relevant now. And with the question you asked, I think I thought that the education was going to be a lot more practical and us, you know, talking with each other and like learning the craft in itself. And I didn't realize that there was a lot of like a theoretic framework that you have to understand first. And I didn't even realize that, you know, people feel very differently about like psychology. It's not just this will make you feel better. It's a lot of different traditions and paradigms, and learning that and figuring out where do I stand in that, and having to do actual research, you know, go out and ask people how they feel about different topics. We've done a lot of projects is something that I didn't expect, but found out I really loved, and contributing something to like to research is a really cool thing to be able to do.
Uh, you're absolutely right about that. And psychology isn't really my thing, but I've noticed that people, especially in today's world, they really need it. Not because there's something wrong with them, but because it's a place where things are a little bit slow, right? Because you know, and I know, and everybody know, it's the world we live in today. It's way too dynamic. It's incredibly dynamic, and sometimes, especially if you don't know yourself well, sometimes you can get lost. And I love when you mentioned that you had to go through theory and this and that, because basically, like for example, I'm doing auditing, and most of the cases are, you know, similar. You can't say the same thing about people. We're all different, and we're different
Yeah.
every day. So, you know, you and I were talking now, and tomorrow could be something completely different, and yesterday was very different too. So it's a very delicate situation. I remember there was an interview with a famous psychiatrist or something. I don't know, Jordan Peterson. He's very famous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was treating a patient. The guy wasn't able to clean his room. So Dr. Peterson told him, okay, so just grab the vacuum cleaner and clean your room. You got 1 week. And the boy said that he just took the vacuum cleaner and put it at the door or something. And he just went through the vacuum cleaner all week, and he didn't do it. So Jordan Peterson, okay, so just take one shelf out of the wardrobe and clean that. All right,
Yeah.
so you have to know when to start and how to start. Like, let's say I'm going to do something somewhere somehow. It doesn't mean other people will be able to do it exactly the same, and it doesn't mean I'll be able to do what they're doing in the same way. So we're all very different, and although we are, in our essence, in our core, practically identical, because basic needs and stuff like that, when you grow in a different matters, we're all very different. Like I'm in a specific team, and we're basically doing the same thing, and we're all very different from one another.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate situation, and it's a good thing that they actually prepared you for this kind of a stuff, because especially in
Yeah.
today's world, this is again another reason why I started the channel, because I've noticed that people tend to go to colleges, universities, because they have this stigma, right? That you have to be in the college or university to get a degree to secure your future. And this stigma mostly is coming from the previous generation, and not that they're doing it because they have ill intentions or anything. No, definitely not. But this form of education is, my personal opinion, of course, is not doing a good job. Because, for example, there are now tons of universities everywhere. And it's a basic economical principle. When you have a lot of goods, a lot from simple goods, well, the value gets lower, and vice versa, of course. So
I think, well, yeah, it's very different what people need. Like, I went the very traditional route of going to a university, which I didn't have to do, and a lot of people won't like going to university, and they need to do something else. And you need someone doing everything.
yep.
It's very important. And I mean, even though I went the very traditional route, it's I love the university, and I think it's a great institution and doing a very important job. But so is like all the other educations that aren't just the university.
Yeah, the trades.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a poster boy for the academic studies. I graduated high school, went to college, went to universities, so it wasn't really an issue for me. But I've noticed that a lot of people don't really want to be there, and they're just there because they were like pushed,
For sure, for
and
sure. There are a lot of those people as well.
and
And
they're not
it's
happy.
sad. They could be doing something else that they really enjoy, but because I don't experience it as much anymore, and not around the people that I am with. But when I was younger, I did experience a lot of people, choosing university because it was just the next choice, and
Yep.
it was just like thinking more about their Starbucks order than if they're going to university, which is crazy, because it's a big decision, and you should think a lot about if that's the right path for you, or whatever path is right for you.
I absolutely agree with you. Not to mention, this is the snowball effect, because let's say you go to university, you lose like 4, 5, or 6 years of your life for something that doesn't make you happy and it's not for you. And afterwards, then you go to a job that you're supposed to spend like 8 or 9 hours there, and doing something that's not making you happy, it's not fulfilling you. You can't be a happy person in those shoes. You simply can't. I don't care how much money you're making. If you're miserable 9 hours of the day, you're not gonna have a good life.
No, I mean, for my case, I never really I mean, I didn't really know, of course you're young and you're like naive, but I didn't really know what a like psychologist made. So I just thought it was right, thought it was interesting. And I mean, I guess in that state it was kind of good that I was young and naive, because I chose what I loved instead of stressing too much about the money.
I'll maybe you're right, but I personally wouldn't use the word naive, because
Naive is probably not the right word, you're right.
yeah, because children, and I don't want it sounded like you were a child or something, but
Yeah.
children and basically young people, they have this internal compass, let's go like that. So they kind of like feel where they're going, and they have this inner feeling in them, and as long as they're trusting them, they kind of go along, and things are fine. The issue, again, personal view, of course, the issue is when they're not following this internal compass, and they're trying to be something they're not. So you basically, naive is definitely not the word I will use. You just
I
like
guess, yeah,
had
I
this
guess, yeah, you're right.
gut feeling. Because I remember I had this math teacher in high school, and I was a terrible student in high school. I wasn't good. Not because I was stupid, right? I really didn't want to pay attention.
It's
So those sinuses and cosinuses in math, and she was like, "You have to learn it." I said, "No, you have to learn it because you're the one teaching me. I don't have to learn. I have to pass the exam somehow. And how am I gonna do it? None of your business." I was that kind of a guy back then. So, but I definitely had this again, like in me, like similar to your case. I knew what I was going in for. So yeah.
I mean, it's good listening to your gut feeling, like I did as well. Of course, you have to be rational and you have to think what's realistic as well. But listening to yourself definitely for sure is the right way to go. It worked out for me at least.
Works out for a lot of people actually, especially
Yeah.
from the stories that I'm hearing quite a lot. In case you would like to share a few words, like an advice for people or something, be my guest.
Oh, well, I don't think I have a lot to say except, the things we've been talking about are really good, listening to your gut feeling and yeah, I think that's a good way to leave it.
Sure, that
Yeah.
sure covers it a lot. Again, Alma, thank you for joining. I wish you all the best, and
You
I'll be
too.
around.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Gap, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.